Not all exercises strengthen your bones. In fact, some do almost nothing for osteoporosis. Today, we're diving into the most effective exercises to prevent and maybe even reverse osteoporosis. Hi, I'm Dr. Jake. In this video, I'll show you how exercise can reshape your skeleton, strengthen your bones, and cut your fracture risk, all backed by peer-reviewed science. Which reminds me, where's the most common location for fractures due to osteoporosis? The spine or the hip? Leave your answer in the comments section and keep watching to find out. Did you know that your bones are more like calcium banks rather than calcium frames? It's true, and a physically inactive lifestyle withdraws strength from your bone mineral matrix account. Now, not a Keanu Reeves matrix made porous by dodging bullets, but a sponge-like environment built up in your teens and 20s by regular deposits of inorganic minerals like calcium and phosphate that add strength to your bones. After age 30, your body naturally withdraws calcium from your bones, which weakens the bone matrix, leading to osteopenia, then osteoporosis. In fact, according to the International Osteoporosis Foundation, it's estimated that every 3 seconds someone suffers a fracture due to osteoporosis. This is in part because the bone mineral matrix wasn't fully developed in their teens and 20s, a topic I covered in the previous video. The good news is that despite the withdrawals from your bone matrix, you can still make deposits to slow down bone loss. The amount you deposit depends on hormone levels, diet composition, and the type and quality of exercise. So today we're diving into the science of how exercise helps osteoporosis, what types of exercise are most effective, and a couple of exercise upgrades that can help even more. To better understand which type of exercise is most effective, it helps to understand exactly how exercise strengthens bones. Like a sponge that releases water when it gets squeezed, exercise causes bone cells called osteocytes and the water around them to feel a squeeze. This causes the osteocytes, which act as construction foremen, to send signaling chemicals to other bone cells called osteoblasts. These are the bone builders. The osteocytes also connect to osteoclasts, the bone demolishers, which get activated when there's little or no stress to the osteocytes, like with bed rest. So the stress of exercise makes sure the osteocytes stimulate the osteoblasts and leave the osteoclasts alone. But unlike squeezing a sponge, the stress from exercise has to be the right kind in order to stimulate the osteocytes and activate the osteoblasts. For one, it has to be stronger and more intense than what the bones are used to. Similar to how you need to overload a muscle with more weight to make it stronger. Slowing down bone loss requires moderate to intense muscle contractions against the pull of gravity. I only mention gravity because your bones do rely on it to maintain some strength. That's why spaceflight and zero gravity weakens your bones. And it's also why non-weight bearing exercises like swimming and cycling are not recommended to strengthen your bones. They take gravity out of it and support your bones with water or a bike. However, gravity alone won't cut it. If it did, just standing would be enough to prevent bone loss. Rather, you need to contract your muscles in a way that they work against gravity, like they do during weightlifting and jumping up and down. These stresses to your bones will activate the osteocytes and osteoblasts. If you want more science-based ways to stay fit and fracture-free, hit the subscribe button now. The importance of high-intensity exercise for strong bones is seen in the LIFT-MORE trial, which had postmenopausal women do 5 sets of 5 repetitions at a resistance greater than 85% of their 1 RM. That's a heavy load. But after 8 months, they had a nearly 3% increase in spine bone mineral density compared to a 1% decrease in the control group that did a home-based low-intensity exercise program. And there are other studies that show that high-intensity resistance or impact training increases bone density with a high degree of safety. High-intensity training can also include plyometric exercises like box jumps, high-intensity interval training, and bodyweight exercises like burpees. Did you know that burpees are named for their inventor, Royal Huddleston Burpee, who invented them as a quick fitness test as part of his PhD program in applied physiology way back in 1940? It's true. And did you know his son Slur invented the Slur Burpee, which 7-Eleven shortened to Slurpee? Not true. Where was I? Oh yeah, intense exercise. It doesn't have to be intense all the time, but at least 2 to 3 times a week to begin with. Which brings me to the second factor for adequate bone stress. Osteocytes respond better to frequently repeated stress, which you do by completing more than 1 rep and taking many steps. I'll cover the numbers later on when I get to the recommendations. For now, I want to cover how this concept can help you level up your bone strengthening workout by using whole body vibration platforms. A meta-analysis found that standing on a vibration plate set at a high frequency improved the spine bone mineral density in postmenopausal women after 7,000 minutes, but not all at once. Have you used a vibration plate? If so, what did you think? Let me know in the comments. While whole body vibration may sound like an easy approach, it may not be as effective in younger people with stronger bones. They may need the high intensity workout to get the most bone strengthening benefits from exercise. At this time, I want to point out that not all research shows that intense exercise increases bone mineral density, which is the most common way researchers use to assess bone strength. I know, in my other videos, I made it sound like all exercise increases bone mineral density. Well, I wasn't intentionally lying to you. I just didn't tell you the full truth. Wow, that sounds like a politician. Sorry about that. It's very possible that the exercise may have benefited their bones in another, perhaps more important way. It's looking like bone architecture rather than bone density is a better predictor of bone strength and fracture risk. In other words, it's more about bone quality and not quantity. Think of the strength of the Eiffel Tower compared to an exact replica made out of Jell-O. An Eiffel Tower made out of Jell-O may be more dense than the porous real Eiffel Tower, but not nearly as strong. Bone architecture is more difficult to measure than bone density, but we may be seeing it used more as a measure of bone strength in future studies. But the strongest bone architecture requires one more thing. In addition to an intense repeated stress, the stress should also be progressive. For example, the bone stress while walking is easily repeated, but unless you're gaining weight, the load to the bone is the same with each step. Of course, you can go from walking to jogging, then jogging to running to increase the impact to your bones. A quick aside, if you're worried about the stress to your knees with running, research shows that running doesn't damage your knees, but actually may strengthen them. But what if running isn't your thing? Well, here's an option to progressively stress your bones without running, and that's by wearing a weighted vest, which you can do while walking or just about any exercise. You should start out with a vest weighing about 5 to 10% of your body weight. It's better to start out with too little of weight, so you aren't giving your joints and lower back too much load to deal with. But over time, gradually add weight up to about 20% of your body weight. This will progressively stress and progressively strengthen your bones. Thanks again to my sister-in-law Lori, who suggested I do a video on weighted vests, which is now my top viewed video. She's earned enough in video royalties to buy a Slurpee with no flavoring, so just ice, and from her own fridge. Now that I've covered how exercise strengthens bones, let's talk about the best exercises for osteoporosis. Not all exercises are created equal, especially to your bones. The science is very clear that strong bones are built on weight-bearing or impact-loading aerobic exercises, or resistance training with free weights or machines, body weight, or even resistance bands. How much, how hard, and how often, you ask? Here are the recommendations. Resistance train at least 2 to 3 times per week with 5 to 12 reps per set. If you're starting out, begin with 50% of your 1RM, but progressively work up to at least 85%. Work at least 3 major muscle groups with 2 to 5 sets per group. If lifting weights isn't your thing, you can opt for impact exercises like jump drops, jumping chin-ups with drop landings, and jumping rope. Another option are aerobic weight-bearing exercises like walking, dancing, and skipping. Good luck pulling that last one off in public. Try to do these at least 3 days per week for at least 20 minutes at an RPE of 11 to 14 or 40 to 60% of your heart rate reserve. If you love to bike or swim, don't stop. Just add some jump roping or high resistance weightlifting. You may also want to improve your balance with things like yoga or Tai Chi, done for at least 15 minutes 1 to 3 days per week. And as I've already covered, you can level up your bone strengthening workouts with a vibration plate or weighted vest. Vibration plates do limit the type of exercises you can do, and if you want to purchase your own, you likely get what you pay for, so don't opt for the cheapest model. And for those of you that are even older than me, I want to remind you that it's never too late. One study found that older men who did resistance and weight-bearing exercises improved their spine and hip bone mineral density even in their 70s. So we know that the right exercise can definitely strengthen your bones. Does that mean exercise can reverse osteoporosis? Not completely, but it can strengthen existing bone structure, especially in the spine and hip, which reduces fracture risk, and that's key. Plus, it takes more than just exercise. In my next video, I'll cover how diet and supplements can multiply your bone building results, so stay tuned. If you're interested in evidence-based ways to boost your bone health and other areas of fitness, hit subscribe for more health science breakdowns every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And if you learn something new, click on like. Thanks. And as always, my answers come from peer-reviewed research.